Good morning, everybody. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Monday, June 29th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Shin Se-min. Before we get started, here are the stories we're following at this hour. Around the world, COVID-19 cases have topped 10 million, with the death toll hitting 500,000. And a quarter of those deaths are in the United States. Here in South Korea, though, it's time to play ball. Limited numbers of fans will soon be allowed in at professional sporting events. South Korea is showing signs of economic expansion, at least according to the OECD's Composite Leading Indicator last month, becoming the only country in the OECD with a positive outlook. But can we start feeling optimistic? 18 years ago on this very day, warships from South and North Korea confronted each other along the maritime border near Yeonpyeong Island. And today, the relations between the two Koreas are not that much different. Our starting point this morning, the OECD's Composite Leading Indicator for the South Korean economy has recovered to its highest level in almost 2 years, becoming the only country with such positive trend. The leading economic index for South Korea hit 100 in May, up 0.2 points on month, continuing its rise for the 9th consecutive month. Still, experts say it's a bit early to be too optimistic, as other economic indicators suggest a shaky outlook. Asia's fourth largest economy shrank 1.4% in the first 3 months this year, and the central bank forecast earlier this month that the country's economic contraction will worsen in the second quarter, largely because of the fallout from COVID-19. Now, staying with the latest on COVID-19 here in the nation, South Korea's health authorities announced Sunday that 3 official levels of social distancing to be practiced from now on, depending on the severity of the outbreak. Now, the first stage is the current practice of distancing in daily life. That will apply when there are fewer than 50 daily infections. And the second stage is for when there are 50 to 100 cases a day. And the third stage for numbers higher than that. Sports fans here in South Korea will soon be allowed to attend sporting events as early as this week, following weeks of games being played without fans in attendance due to lingering COVID-19 concerns. Our Kim Hyo-sun explains.
Professional sports leagues in South Korea will reopen to fans, but on a limited basis. This comes as quarantine authorities says Sunday that spectators will be able to attend sports events under the condition that strict infection prevention and control measures are adhered to.
In accordance to Level 1 distancing in daily life, public facilities and sports stadiums with lower infection risk will reopen in phases.
The country's baseball league, which has been underway since May with no spectators, welcomed the move. The Korea Baseball Association says all 10 teams have each prepared detailed quarantine protocols, vowing to strictly abide by them, including a mandatory healthy distance to be kept between fans. It explains all tickets will be sold online, so contact tracing will be easy, while all fans will be reminded to wear face masks and stay home if they do not feel well. Under the government's plan, the KBO expects to reopen stadiums to fans as early as this weekend, while limiting the number of spectators for each game.
The KBO and all 10 teams have been preparing quarantine measures to welcome baseball fans. We'll gradually open with 30% capacity.
The Korea Professional Football League says it will gradually increase the number of spectators, beginning from 30 to 40% of the usual. The Korea Ladies Professional Golf Association is also preparing to welcome back fans. Given the steady rise in the number of new confirmed cases in South Korea, however, it's left to be seen how the move could be expanded going forward. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
With the global COVID-19 numbers surpassing 10 million over the weekend, the number of infections in the United States is still on the rise. Only 2 states, Connecticut and Rhode Island, reporting a decline in new cases compared to the week before, and 12 other were stable. Of the 36 reporting rises, Florida reported over 18,000 new cases this past weekend alone, a number which rivals those of New York's peak in early April. New York reported the lowest number of deaths since March 15 with 5, while hospitalizations were below 900. The latest surge has led at least 12 states halting or rolling back their reopening plans. The number of COVID-19 cases continues to surge around the world, but North Korea still claims to have 0 confirmed cases. Now, whether that is believable is up for debate, as there's no way of knowing for sure given the secretive nature of the regime. However, the North has recently been conducting more of its big meetings virtually. Our Choi Won-jung with more.
North Korea held a meeting of Central Military Commission last Tuesday to suspend planned military actions against South Korea. But aside from the decision reached, it was unusual to see that Pyongyang was holding its first ever virtual meeting.
It's rare to see Kim Jong-un hold a meeting virtually. Based on North Korea's news coverage, it appears to be the first time the regime has held a video conference.
However, it was not the last. North Korea has held a cabinet meeting and several meetings through video conference since last Tuesday. Some schools in the north, after being subject to a 2-month delay, held their opening ceremonies virtually. And experts said more on-site meetings will be held by the north in the future.
During this COVID-19 pandemic, North Korea is utilizing technology that doesn't involve personal contact in an appropriate manner. It also appears they've set a policy goal to provide the education virtually.
In the meantime, North Korea has reportedly started to emphasize the development of providing virtual education not only for students but also for workers and local teachers. Choi Won-jung, Arirang News.
North Korea is tightening the screws on its monitoring of North Koreans that defected to the south. Citing defectors here, reports say that many have not been able to call or have not heard from their respective family members in the north for over a month, something they haven't experienced for a few years. Now, defectors have been sending cash and corresponding with their family left behind in the north through Chinese brokers, but that ceased as Pyongyang delegated the monitoring job to a central party organ in charge of state security. Now, public anger towards defector families has been brewing in the regime as Pyongyang was furious over anti-regime leaflets were launched by defector groups here in the south. 18 years ago, on this very day, a naval battle broke out in the South Korean waters of the West Sea after a North Korean warship crossed the disputed northern limit line. Our Kim Do-yeon visited the closest island to the scene of the battle and files this report.
On June 29, 2002, at 10:25 a.m., a naval battle between South and North Korea broke out around 3 miles south of the northern limit line and 14 miles west of Yeonpyeong Island. The North's naval ship attacked one of South's patrol killer medium, or PKM ships, which tried to stop it from coming further into South Korean waters. The North ship retreated after a 25-minute firefight, and the South ship later sank. 6 South Korean sailors died in the incident, and the North is believed to have suffered around 30 casualties. A few years after the incident, it was named the Second Battle of Yeonpyeong. Even though 18 years have passed, the area is still on high alert.
The North placed surface-to-ship missiles in the area, threatening our ships. Even though South Korea's navy is far more advanced than North Korea's, the North's naval ships get enough support from their land-based forces.
On Yeonpyeong Island, people can visit and go aboard a retired PKM. Visitors can see the ship's capability so that they know the island's citizens are in good hands. At a high point on the island is a memorial to remember those who died in the battles here, protecting the island from the North's threats. While the rest of the country was celebrating South Korea's successful run at the 2002 World Cup, these brave young souls sacrificed their lives to provide that freedom to do so, and the duty of protecting the country's waters carries on to this day. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News, Yeonpyeong Island.
The World Trade Organization will review the establishment of trade watchdog panels after South Korea filed an official complaint over its trade conflict with Japan. During the WTO dispute settlement body meeting on Monday, the organization will discuss Seoul's request to set up watchdog panels for future trade measures. Just last year, the South Korean government lodged a complaint after Tokyo curbed exports on 3 high-tech materials and removed South Korea from its whitelist of reliable trade partners. The establishment of the panels will be decided at a WTO meeting in July. Japan does not seem happy about the possibility of South Korea being allowed to join a proposed expanded G7 summit, now as Tokyo has reportedly delivered that message to the United States. Citing ranking government officials, Kyodo news agency reported that Tokyo has told the White House that South Korea is not in lockstep with G7 members on China and North Korea-related issues. The report said President Trump will make the final decision on that matter. Now, back in May, President Trump was the one who proposed the G7 at South Korea, Russia, India, Australia, and Brazil to form an anti-China coalition. And back then, South Korea said it would accept the offer to join, but no word yet on how it will react to Japan's reported move. Hong Kong police have issued a ban on an upcoming pro-democracy march set for July 1st, citing the COVID-19 pandemic and to prevent vandalism. With Beijing's nationalism security law on Hong Kong set to be passed soon, our Lee Sin-je takes a look at what's to come next.
On July 1st, 2003, 500,000 people marched through the streets of Hong Kong to demand the scrapping of a proposed security bill. With Beijing preparing to impose a new national security law on Hong Kong, protesters have been organizing what could have been one of the biggest marches on Wednesday. That's until the Hong Kong police have gotten involved, banning the annual pro-democracy march. According to a letter from the Hong Kong police to the Civil Human Rights Front, the event's organizers, it cited COVID-19 related health and safety concerns, as well as the possibility for violence and vandalism that could arise during the protests. The organizers, however, argue that past marches have always been peaceful. They added the ban is a sign of the coming repression even before the law is passed. Earlier this year, the traditional memorial vigil for the people killed in Tiananmen Square was also banned for COVID-19 related reasons, but tens of thousands of people joined the annual event anyway. Watchers thought a march on July 1st would be a challenge to Beijing and the passing of the national security law, as the march 17 years ago led to the then public safety bill proposed by the Hong Kong government to be scrapped. Despite calls for the scrapping of the national security law, Chinese lawmakers could approve it as early as this week. While the National People's Congress Standing Committee usually meets every 2 months, this time the committee is meeting just a little over a week after its last session, suggesting Beijing wants the law passed before July 1st, which also marks the 23rd anniversary of Hong Kong's return to Chinese sovereignty. Ban or no ban, with the new law looming, the streets of Hong Kong are expected to be filled with citizens again, possibly mirroring the march that started it all 17 years ago. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning. You need an umbrella on your way out. A monsoonal front is approaching the Korean peninsula. In fact, light showers have already started from Jeju, and the monsoon front should gradually move northwards. And it is likely to rain nationwide this time, and do expect downpours across the country from this afternoon into tonight. Parts of Gangwon-do province will see the most rain starting tonight, while Chungcheongdo and southern coastal regions will get over 150 millimeters of downpours until tomorrow afternoon. Temperature-wise, southern regions will have highs that are about 4 degrees Celsius lower today, while the central region will be as warm as yesterday. And after the rain lets up, the capital will be under mostly sunny skies with warm highs this week, while Jeju and the southern coastal regions will see another band of monsoon rain on Friday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that does it for this edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching.